Hi, I'm Ashley, owner of Fitness by Ashley, and today we are going to be talking about all things shoulders. So, just a quick shout out before we get going. I am bringing to you knowledge from one of my favorite books by Dr. Aaron Horschig, Rebuilding Milo. Highly recommend it. I'll link it in the notes here. In case you want a deeper dive or you find this stuff super interesting like I do. Can't recommend this book enough. It has literally been my Bible. This in addition to Becoming a Supple Leopard by Kelly Starrett, Dr. Kelly Starrett. I'll also link that in the notes as well. Again, if you really like this stuff, these are really great resources, and can't say enough good things about both of them. So a lot of the stuff that you are going to see today are from these books. So I just want to make sure that I give proper credit where credit is due. So here we go. Today we are going to go over some soft tissue mobilization for your upper back, your upper body. So a couple things you're going to need or want to invest in. Lacrosse ball, a peanut, which is 2 lacrosse balls. You can tape them together if you happen to have 2, or you can buy them together like so. And you are also going to want a foam roller. So I'm going to link below product links for, you can get all of this in like a kit. So I'll link that below. I am affiliated with Amazon, so anything you purchase through my link definitely helps support me and my business. So all greatly appreciated. So we're gonna start with mobility work on the floor. So this is good whether or not you have shoulder pain or discomfort. This is just good maintenance, especially if you like to lift weights or you're active. Even for those that are not that active, taking care of your body is super important. So we're gonna start with the peanut, and we are going to be targeting our spine basically. So you are going to take this peanut, whichever way is easiest for you. You're going to want to position it right down the middle of your back, so each lacrosse ball will kind of surround your spine. And we're going to spend a little bit of time kind of working our way all the way up and down the spine. So some areas may require a little bit longer than others. Kind of just feel it out. If you do have any intense pain or discomfort, definitely stop immediately and go see your doctor. But we're going to make our way all the way down our entire spine, spending as much or as little as time as we need to, depending on how tight we are. Okay? Also, while we are on the floor, we are going to foam roll those lats. So, huge muscle on your back. Sometimes this could lead to overhead range of motion issues when this gets really tight and bound up. So we are going to lie on our side, wedge that foam roller. Excuse any ugly faces I'm about to make, but underneath our lat here, arm is extended out, and I'm gonna kind of just push and pull with my legs and my arms, searching for any of those, as I like to call them, goblins, and trying to roll those out gently with the foam roller. You can spend about potentially 2 to 5 minutes here working both sides. Okay, so now we're going to do some standing soft tissue work. Typically you really only need the single lacrosse ball in this scenario. So we're going to start with, for example, same exact thing you did on the ground for your lats and your back. Let's say you didn't have a foam roller. This is a great alternative or an addition to. So for my back, I'm going to just start by placing that lacrosse ball right on like the meatier part of my upper back. And I'm going to kind of just work my way down into and around my shoulder blade. And I would do that on both sides, being that this is single. And then also for the lats, we're going to go ahead and wedge that lacrosse ball right in this meaty part of the lat, kind of directly underneath your armpit. So wedge that guy in there, and you can kind of, move that arm around to get some movement over that lacrosse ball. Maybe you gently rock kind of forward and back Manually works best typically to kind of inch it down the lat, searching for any areas that need it and spending some time there and addressing that issue. Next, we're going to go into the pec area, so you won't be able to necessarily see me, but I want you to see what I'm doing with my arm, and then I'll give you maybe another angle so you can see it from the side. So lacrosse ball is going to go right here on the upper pec. I'm going to swish myself against the ball, up against a wall typically here. We're going to either bring the arm behind the back, and you can see I'm kind of just pushing myself side to side, or we can kind of move the arm out to the side and do the same thing. You're going to want to repeat that on both sides. Okay, so we got another view of the pec smashing. So lacrosse ball right into my pec, either arm up to the side like so, or kind of behind my back, searching for any areas that need it. Also, with the lacrosse ball, outside part of the shoulder, up against the wall, and then reach across your body, dig around in there for me for a little bit. Can take that arm down, kind of reposition more of that lateral delt, even work into the front of it again, and then back into your pec. So, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes. Hit all that kind of foam rolling and smashing to get your session started. And now we're going to go over some ways to improve our range of motion, make that new range of motion stick, and then also strengthening the areas that we just worked on improving. So, on to the next thing. So, we're back. Next two things we're going to do are going to be for lat flexibility. So, you're going to want a band, towel, ideally PVC pipe or broomstick potentially if you have one. I don't have one handy, so I'm just going to rock with my band for today. And your foam roller again if you have it. So, first thing we're going to do, I'm going to give you two options. Option one is going to be without a foam roller. We're going to kind of come down into a child's pose on the floor. Go ahead and place your hand one on top of the other, and then you are going to send your hips back towards your heels, and then I'm also gently pressing down into the ground as I'm in this position. Now that may be plenty for you. If you have a foam roller, same exact thing. We're going to go ahead and bring those arms on top of the foam roller, back into that child's pose position, and I'm pressing my head down towards that mat. So we're going to do about 2 to 3 sets here, 20 to 30 seconds a piece while we're down there. And then we're going to want to follow this up with a lat stretch. So you're going to need a box, bench, chair, something sturdy, and again, that PVC pipe, broomstick, etc. So elbows get placed on your surface. Arms are about shoulder width apart. My palms are up towards the sky. So ideally, if I had a pole, I wouldn't need to be pulling this band apart. And then I'm just going to gently send, again, hips back. Head is going to come down through the shoulders. And we're going to, again, hold that 2 to 3 sets, 20 to 30 seconds. So I'm actively pressing down on my elbows, thinking about bringing my head to the floor. Okay, so the next stretch, we're going to work on trying to improve our range of motion in our spine. So going to need foam roller, ideally a longer one if you have it, but if not, this will suffice. And then some type of stick, PVC pipe, something sturdy and straight. So I have none of those things. So I'm going to use the old school Easy Bar Curl bar that I have, and we're going to make it work. So something like that. You're going to want to sit, feet planted, foam roller between the legs. Again, ideally, if we have a long one, it would be touching the ground and all the way up through your thighs. So we're going to want to squeeze that tight together with your legs. Then You're gonna wanna take your bar, bring that across the backs of your shoulders, right? Elbows are pointed down. And you're going to rotate as far as you can in one direction. Hold for a few seconds. Add in a little side bend if you wish to stretch out that lat on the opposite side. Return back to neutral. Twist as far as we can to the other side, making sure that we are squeezing that foam roller in between the thighs and that the feet are staying planted, okay? So you're gonna wanna do about 5 to 10 reps, pausing in each end range position, and then adding in that side bend for an additional stretch if you feel like you can handle that. Okay? Now that we just finished our seated rotational stretch on the bench, we're going to make all the pieces of the puzzle hopefully stick. So we've got 2 options for this one. First one is if you're a little bit more flexible in through like your pecs and your shoulders and the lats, you probably will be able to do this one. If you are really tight in those areas, hang tight because I'm going to go over an extra alternative for you. So we're going to want to come down onto the floor on all fours. I'm going to place my forearm down on the opposite side here on the ground. This hand is going to come behind my back. So making sure that I keep my ribs glued here to my thigh. I'm going to rotate up as much as I can. Take a few breaths here. Come back down. Again, we're going to rotate up. Take a few breaths. Keep this in contact with one another. 10 times, then we're going to want to switch. Same thing on the other side. So again here, this forearm's going to come down on the ground. Opposite arm is coming behind my back, keeping my rib glued down to my thigh. I'm going to rotate up as much as I can. As you can see, a little bit of a discrepancy there on me. You're going to want to do about 10 repetitions on both sides. We have a quadruped downward stretch, or I like to call it thread the needle. So if you've ever taken yoga before, that may sound more familiar to you. So you're going to start by coming down onto the ground on all fours. So I like to teach this knees underneath the hips, hands stacked underneath the shoulders, right? So we're checking in with that first. We're going to go ahead and bring that left arm out to the side, and then I'm going to swoop it underneath and reach towards the other side. When I do this, my right arm bends as I reach through. Once down there, you're going to want to hold for about 10 seconds. And we're going to want to do about 10 repetitions per side. So again, from another angle, we're going to bring arm out to the side. Then we're going to reach under. This arm bends. And we should feel a nice stretch in our mid upper back and maybe across the front of that shoulder and that deltoid. So now that we have improved your range of motion, again, we're going to make it stick. One of my favorite ways to do this is with the half prone angel. So I'm going to walk you through that. Come down onto the floor. We're going to start forehead to ground. Arms are going to make a W. Then we're going to lifting up as high as we can. Extend our arms up over our head. Rotate, give me a thumbs up. Palms back down to the ground. And returning to our start position. Give me about 2 sets of 5 to 10 repetitions. Okay, next up we are going to work on strengthening our rotator cuff. So we've got the side lying external rotation. You're going to want a towel or something that you can wedge underneath your armpit. I'm literally using old weightlifting knee sleeves. So I'm going to bunch those up, jam them underneath the armpit. We're also going to want a super light dumbbell, potentially no weight at all. So you are going to find yourself in a side plank position. Now that this can be modified by bringing your foot up here. Further away this foot is from my body, the harder that side plank is going to be. So find what's best for you. Come up into this position with the dumbbell armpit squeeze into our towel. We are going to rotate back wherever you can get your end range here. We're going to hold for about 5 seconds, and then we're going to come back down. Again, we're up as high as we can, holding it, and coming back down. Okay? You're going to do 2 sets on each side of about, again, 5 to 10 repetitions with that pause at the top. You are going to need a band. Super, super light resistance. Ideally, I would have one of those long, super stretchy TheraBands, but I don't, so we're going to use this. So, first one, banded W's. Elbows pinned to the ribs, palms up, starting about shoulder width apart with my hands. Then I'm going to follow my thumbs by rotating outward. When I do this, super important that my elbows still remain in contact with my ribs. And again, when we get to our end range of position here, let's give it a good solid, 1 to 2 second count on that hold, okay? You're gonna do 2 sets here, about 15 to 20 repetitions. So we've got one of my favorite movements, best for last, the upside down kettlebell press. This is something that I use all the time on, especially all of my pressing days in the gym. I started implementing this, I would say, probably about a year ago, and I've seen huge improvements in my overhead stability, my capacity on the bench specifically, my overhead press, and it was really challenging when I first started doing it. So now that I'm able to do it and I'm up to 20 pounds in the gym, it's cool to see how bad it was initially and I didn't realize it, and how much greater it's gotten just by putting in the time and the repetitions with this movement in particular. So, half kneeling position, knee that's up, that side's got the kettlebell. Go ahead and flip that kettlebell up, bottoms up. That's what I call these, bottoms up kettlebell presses. Make sure our rib cage stays down. So I'm actively thinking about connecting my belly button to my ribs as I begin to press overhead. I also recently started adding in a rotation here at the top, challenging all parts of my shoulder throughout this upside down kettlebell press. Take your time. If you're really wobbly like I was when I first started these, we may even need to follow up with a little bit of a spot from the other side and take our time. If you don't have a kettlebell, or the kettlebell you have is maybe too heavy, an alternative I often use with clients is we take this dumbbell, we hold it lengthwise. It's not quite as wobbly as the kettlebell, but it gets you started. And you hold that dumbbell lengthwise, and then you repeat the process. I do find that I need a much heavier weight with the dumbbell if I don't have access to a kettlebell, and then kettlebell oftentimes much lighter, okay? So again, I usually do about 2 sets of 10 as a warm-up on my pressing days, and if you are rehabbing your shoulder, same thing, you're gonna wanna do about 2 sets of 10, probably over a course of, multiple sessions per week. All right, so that's the upside down kettlebell press.